Welcome again, everybody, to another edition of Justin's podcast, brought to you on XTV via YouTube. And it's another great day. I'm very happy, of course, to bring you another edition. And it's just been crazy. So much information to absorb here in the information era. I was just listening to the Jazzmar Park podcast, and he had the '80s guy on there, who was one of my first guests. I think '80s guy was like my first West Side guest. He was over there on the Jazzmar podcast. Always a very interesting conversation when you're talking with Sean Hart, better known as the '80s guy. Very insightful on things that happened back in his day, in the heyday in the WWE. It's always very fascinating listening to those stories of the WWE. Something that was going on right under our nose. And in XTV, we didn't know nothing about it. We had no idea of his existence the whole time. I mean, we was told about it, sure, but we just really didn't know what was really going on. And out of that came that '80s guy, and amongst other stars, Best made a name for himself there. I believe. I think Best was there. And Payne. Yeah. They had the huge feud, and the match didn't go over so well. Yeah. So I really enjoy listening to Jazzmar's podcast. Jazz. He's been getting a whole lot of flack from guys. I guess I would say mixed reviews. In regards to his podcast. And I said, I said this to him. I said, hey, man, do your thing. Don't worry about what people saying. Just do your thing. I'm telling you. That go for anybody out there. Everybody's always getting criticized for coming at something a certain way. Now, as far as like critiquing, take my little critiques. Like, the only thing I would say about Jazz podcast, like, I don't mind him being, monotone. That's him. That's his style. But, one thing that I noticed that he was doing in the '80s guy shoot was he was, he was mentioning the time a whole lot. He was saying, we at 15 minutes, we at 20 minutes. I wouldn't do that so much. Maybe once or twice, but you got to remember, you're talking to an audience, and it's not important what the time is. We just care about the stories. We just here for the ride. So the time don't matter to us, the listeners. You know what I'm saying? I understand you probably trying to hit a mark. You probably got a benchmark that you want to hit. And that's completely understandable. But I would just keep that, like a behind the scenes, off the record type of deal. No gripes about the show at all, though. I absolutely loved it. As I said, as I've mentioned before, I really enjoy listening to you guys as I'm on the road, and it was a special treat this week because I drive trucks, and I was on Run 4, and it's been a long ass time since I did Run 4, and it was quite special. It was special to me to be able to kick back and listen to Jazzmar's podcast on Run 4. It just had such a fresh feel. I really enjoyed that. And I also listened to the Charles Dean shoot when he did a recap, so to speak, of the year 2009. Very in-depth, very good thoughts. I like Charles Dean's perspective on the year 2009. He was there. He's been a major player in XTV. Ever since he first started. He said a whole lot of things. That was a shoot. And you can't blame the guy for his opinion. You know, he was definitely ahead of his time when he came here. You know, he had a hard time finding himself in the early going. He had the football player background, so you know it was supposed to be the idea. Okay, we're gonna bring a football player to HTV. Didn't go over so well, and so he went back to the drawing board. But that never took away from his pure athleticism, which nobody can deny that he possesses. You know, and Charles Dean has been, and I believe will continue to be, a very dominant force in XTV. A little bit different, you know, kind of light shined on Charles Dean. You know, putting him as a guest to talk about, you know, 2009. And I really like that. I believe that was probably even recorded some time ago, which I also find pretty cool. You know, I mean, as we said, you know, my good friend Trunks, you know, ordained this the information era. And so it is. And I think that it's cool that, you know, the West Side has been doing shoots. You know, this stuff has been going on the West Coast. You know, guys just talk shit. And as they should, you know, speak your mind, be free, do your thing. You know, so that's a couple of things I was thinking about. What else I got? Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, FYI, PSA, Miss Joe is alive. I repeat, in the year 2016, as today being June the 1st, Miss Joe is alive. I'm saying that for the record because I had a guest on my show. I don't remember if it was Old Joe or if it was The Pain. But I was talking to them, and I was a little bit confused about, you know, what her status is. But it has been confirmed to me by a very, very reliable source in this matter that Mrs. Joe is alive. Moving forward, I had a great talk with Chris Major earlier. I think that was last week. You know, very insightful, you know, point of view by Chris Major. It was good catching up with him. Has been a long time. I don't think I talked to Major since 2013. So it's fun catching up with him. That should be getting uploaded to the XTV East Coast channel very soon, which is right here via YouTube. I haven't heard the Big Trunks D-Matic shoot yet, his 2010 shoot. So I guess they went in order, which was pretty cool. You know, The Pain doing 08, Charles Dean doing 09, and Big Trunks D-Matic, a perfect fit for doing the year 2010. And I'm not just saying that because he's my good friend, but Trunks, you know, right there alongside me, you know, called and seen and went through a whole lot of just crazy stuff. You know, when you're talking Justin and Trunks, you're talking some real premier action in regards to XTV, and I really look forward to that. You know, because I saw another Big Trunks shoot, which was sped up, and I laughed my ass off when he started talking about, even though, you know, it wasn't funny at the time, but when he was talking about when Soup had hit that weed and he was hugging on the couch, that was some good, funny ass audio. Let me tell you the truth. It's just so refreshing, man. I'm just riding down the road listening to this shit, laughing my ass off. And some of the stuff, 80s guy had some interesting stuff to say about his tag team partner. He went very well in depth. I think his name was Lightning Man or Lightning Guy. I enjoyed listening to that, and I was asked by either Trunks or somebody on the West Coast. They said, you know, do I think that it was too dark? And you know, my thoughts about it really is just it's like I said before, man. Do your own thing. Just do your thing, and it's the truth. It's what really happened. So if it goes there, you know, like it's not like you intended. You never intend for things to go to these places. You know, but it does go there. And if it's the truth, if it's a shoot, let it be. You know, so that's how I feel on that. You know, it's real shit. So let it be. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun. And it came out. It came out great. You got a great product, Jazz. Keep up the great work. XTV continues to shape up. I say XTV. I said that before. I listen back to these podcasts and just listen to all my fuck ups and flubs. But XTV Mania continues to shape up. Now, you know, I've said, you know, numerous times that in regards to the new game, which could be coming around in, I may say, July-ish. This is the first time that I'm actually saying, you know, a time period, a time frame. So it's looking like July. When will XTV Mania be? Could be late summer, early fallish. I don't know. But funds are being prepared to go ahead and start investing in more XTV programming. And let me just go ahead and say that, hey man, I gotta give it up to Martha, because so far as a commissioner, she's really, you know, doing the Barack Obama and, you know, cleaning up the mess that was made. And that is not a shot to Yosi. Yosi did her best with what she had, but you know, we weren't financially stable at one point, and so now we are. XTV is funded, and we gonna have fun. So that's what that's all about. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about DT versus Walter in an Iron Man match. I believe DT called out Walter, you know, and I guess his claim is that, you know, Walter might have said something to him that he ain't like. So now it's on between him and Walter for the final time. And when I first heard about this, you know, I wasn't much of a fan of it. But when you think about it, this is a perfect time for this to happen. And I wouldn't say go the whole 60 minutes. I say 30 minutes. I believe DT mentioned that. A 30-minute Iron Man made a better man win. You know, this will be the be-all, end-all. You know, although I don't think that really Walter is too thrilled about it, you know, amped up about it. You know, I don't know. We'll find out more about this in weeks to come. But I think it'll be a good match on the card for XTV Mania. The very last time, the final time we seeing Walter versus DT. One of those classic feuds, you know, that we have here in XTV. Yaki versus Hoon, Bob and Killer, you know, Walter and DT. So this is supposed to be the final time. And who knows what'll happen with DT, you know, from that point on. What would he decide to do? You know, is he going to stick around? Because I think he said he's going to retire after that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Is he just talking? Is he for real? Is it a shoot? That remains to be seen, folks. I can't call it. I can't speak for that guy. You know, but people say his name. I would compare DT to Roman Reigns. He's like Roman Reigns is, you know, because he's a guy who is. It's like he not really liked, but he's put over, and he's only over. You know, a lot of people would argue, based off of his association with Romy, and then he's got his two stooges, so to speak. It's not a shot. I'm just saying, you know, his two side guys, Steve-O and Cole, who kind of endorse everything that he does. That's just a fact. So, you know, with that being said, you know, fans love him, fans hate him, you know, and he's just kind of like a middle guy, you know, as far as popularity. But you can't take away from what he's done. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, call a spade a spade. DT beat dead in his draws. He came out, he said he would do it, and he did it. And, you know, that get kind of sniffed at, but, or snoozed on, if you will. But it goes back to my point. You know, people don't like DT just because, I guess, you know, he's easy to dislike. And he's even mentioned that before, that, you know, he's not trying to be nothing besides, you know, what he is. You know, he's his character is lame. You know, and the shit got over. You know, he helped Romy get over, to tell the truth. And Romy helped him get over, vice versa. And you know, you say what you want to, but he's got his own thing. You know, it's like me and Trunks. You know, me and Trunks are similar, but Trunks is his own thing. You know, because you don't see me walking around in my drawers. I've never been a wrestler. You know what I mean? You know, so he's got his own story. He's got his own image. You know, it just is what it is. I mean, you know, it makes sense with DT because him and Romy is related. I always looked at DT as like the new Pain. You know, really, that's really kind of what he is, even though the Pain exists. You know, so it's just, I don't know, depending on how you break it down. But DT is something. You know, he is something. And whether you like him or not, you know, he's in the conversation, and you can't deny that. Smoking on some good weed. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to take a moment to give a special shout out to one of our sponsors, and I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Martha Turkey Leg. Join me every other Saturday morning as we sit together in prayer and pray for XTV. It is my new podcast show that comes on every other Saturday called A Prayer for XTV. Join me as I host with many of my several special guests, including people like Old Joe, Neil, and many others, such as Bill Hunter and even the young children of today. And they're all going to come and help me cook. That's right, because in our hearts, we know that the youth are also special. So join me every other Saturday as we have a prayer meeting and special guests, lots of love, joy, laughter, and fun, and a better place for XTV. I'm Martha Turkey Leg, and I thank you for joining us. He's at the whole world in his hand.
Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Justin here. I ain't went too far. I'm back here with you. And you just now unlocked playable character, because this is episode number 10 of the Justin's podcast. Well, the 10th episode that's been released. That's all that really count, because we got stuff in the archives that, you know, ain't been dug out yet. You know, so it's like we got backlisted stuff, but this is the official 10th episode of Justin's podcast. And just because you at episode number 10, you have unlocked this playable character, which is on the phone with me right now, ladies and gentlemen, hailing from St. Forest, Ohio, referee Rathburn Sallie. Rathburn, what's going on, man? I never knew how to pronounce your name at first.
Yeah, that's because I was only like 32 bits.
Exactly. But what's the latest, man? I mean, help everybody to who you is, and you know, if they don't know, and you know, what's been going on with you the past few years.
Well, I'm Rathburn Sallie, and I'm here to say no. Aren't you supposed to do that, though? I mean, you're the host.
Well, yeah, I am kind of the host. Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, back in the days when SIDE, you know, first started, if you don't know, there was a influx of brand new talent over the new summer season, which was what we called it, It was the new summer season, and a whole bunch of brand new talent was going to be coming in. And of these 12 wrestlers that joined the roster, and along with the whole brand new look and perspective of the presentation, was referee Rathburn Sallie.
Yeah, now see, that's much better.
There you go. But I mean, where do we even start with you? Like, how did you get your start in Power Move Pro Wrestling? What was going on in Power Move Pro Wrestling before SIDE took it over? And how did you get started there?
Well, believe it or not, Justin, I actually started in Power Move as a wrestler. I wrestled there as Rathburn Sallie. And back in those days, it was kind of like kiddie-ish, as regards of the booking. No disrespect to those guys, but that's just how it was because, I was a formidable guy. I was really over with the fans. The fans really loved me, and what they ended up doing was they put me in a match with another guy. And the stipulation in the match was, because we had this huge feud going on back and forth for months and months, and it finally ended on, after going back and forth, if I lose the matchup, whoever loses the matchup has to become just a referee, and they can't wrestle anymore. They can't go for the PPW championship or anything like that. So I ended up losing the matchup because he cheated, and as a result, I was punished by being forced to be the referee for Power Move Pro Wrestling. And so by the time SIDE came around, I was already referee Rathburn Sallie. But that's why I used to get such a huge pop, because I was already over with the fans. And, they really, gravitated towards me. And so even still, when I was just a regular official, they would still cheer for me. Sometimes I would get huger pops than the actual talent. But that's because I was talent.
I see. That's crazy, man. You officiated every single matchup that was on the card back then in Power Move Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I was their only official. I think that's kind of, why management decided to do that, go that route, have one of the guys be the official, because one of the guys had quit on him or whatever, so, they put me in the matchup because I was the smallest guy, next to Tim Bloor, who's actually, taller than me, is bigger than me, and I was the smallest guy, so they made me the referee.
Cat Footwear has some of the finest products online, and right now if you go to catfootwear.com, you can get up to 60% off of the shop outlets. That means that if you go to the store, you can perhaps pay 60% more than what you would online, and it's real easy to go on there. Just go to catfootwear.com. They got a whole lot of great shoes. I wear them personally for work. I got the steel toes, and they are very nice. Good price. Not only do they sell steel toe shoes, but they got even waterproof shoes and online exclusives that are only for a limited time. They even got their top sellers. So you should just go on there right now. Even females got some new styles and new looks for the springtime. So it's steel toe shoes and all different kind of footwear for men and women alike, for different types of things such as running and working and hiking and anything that you just might be into. So go on one more time to catfootwear.com.
I'm Stanley Theophis, and this week's Talk of the Town is a hoop. This week's special guest is none other than Baba Jenkins. We talked to Baba about his life as a preacher.
Yeah, man, I was a preacher a whole bunch of times, man.
Well, what were you talking about as a preacher?
I was talking about the days I was a whoremonger. I told him to be fucking with the whores.
Baba's got his new book, I swear to God I'm not lying out. And he's got many more to talk about with us out on Talk of the Town this week. Tune in.
Well, Power Move Pro Wrestling was the very first of its kind. And that was the premise behind the reason why SIDE wanted to merge with you guys. And, really see how this could work out, because prior to this we had WCW versus NWO World Tour that we was checking out, on the West Coast, what they had going on. I'm not so sure if they did a wrestling show, but seeing, how that looked, and then once Power Move Pro Wrestling finally came, we kind of had something similar, in a way, with the 3D angles, in WCW versus NWO, they had the dynamic of the camera. Like, you would see a guy in a submission hold in the middle of the ring, and the camera would be circling around the ring. Power Move Pro Wrestling didn't have that, but if you press the L2 and R2 button, you can change the angle in which you see the ring. Like you can, see it from this side. Really wasn't a big deal. I remember we used to just hit, R2 a whole bunch of times to try to give it that camera effect that WCW versus NWO World Tour was doing. But obviously it wasn't, it wasn't cutting the mustard. Another thing I remember about Power Move Pro Wrestling is that in the options you could choose to look at the matchup from a aerial, not an aerial view, but like the nosebleed section, which made gameplay kind of tough, but it was still kind of, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely unique for the time. Not only that, but there was different arenas. You could go to several different arenas there, and we had 4 different arenas. I remember there was one place called I can't remember the name of it, but when SIDE went there, they would refer to as the Joe Louis Arena, because up top, in the I guess sort of in the artwork of the top of the arena, they had boxing guys, like people boxing, this was a real famous arena, and I think that was my favorite place.
Yeah, you can change the arena, you can change the ring. It was off the chain over there at in PPW. The only thing I really didn't like about it was that you couldn't go up the ramp. Now I'm not so sure. I remember in those days, going up the ramp was something kind of foreign to video games.
Yeah, that's the way it was. But as my style of officiating, the way I learned to officiate was by what I hated in officials. When I was wrestling, I always hated when a referee would get in the way, and that's why I always stayed, out of the way. I stayed pretty much a babyface for my whole career, because I had fancy moves, and I was pretty badass. Not to blow smoke up my own ass, but I was. So, I always tried to keep it fair, and always stayed out of the way. You couldn't get too close to me, or I would just be quick enough to get out of the way, and that actually got heat, from a whole lot of the guys, because they couldn't put their hands on me.
Well, yeah, that's another thing, being able to hit the official, because that's something that was prevalent in SIDE. Before we had crossed over to the Power Move Pro Wrestling days, you was able to knock out the referee, do some sneaky stuff behind his back, so that was a big deal. So when you wasn't able to, people just got pissed off, because as the heels, if you ain't counting that 3 count and it's a near fall, if they can't interact with you, like jack you up by the shirt, or do something like that, then you kind of pissing people off.
Yeah, but they couldn't mess with me. I was super fast.
I'm Stanley 3 Opus, and this week's Talk of the Town is a hoop. This week's special guest is none other than Baba Jenkins. We talked to Baba about his life as a preacher.
Yeah, man, I was a preacher a whole bunch of times, man.
Well, what were you talking about as a preacher?
I was talking about the days I was a whoremonger. I told you about being fucking with the whores.
Baba's got his new book, I swear to God I'm not lying out, and he's got many more to talk about with us on Talk of the Town this week. Tune in.
I remember having to make a whole lot of changes to, my style of calling a matchup, and myself and AVW, because the crowd, in Power Move Pro Wrestling reacted much different to how we was used to. For instance, like, if a guy was getting up, and that's how we kind of find it very difficult to put guys over, in doing Power Move Pro Wrestling, because a guy would really be kicking ass, be showing a good ass show, but they would start cheering for the other guy, not necessarily booing the offensive guy, but they would start cheering for the person that's getting beat up, whether he was a baby face or a heel. And it took us a long time to understand why in the hell are they cheering for the other guy. Is he is it because he a baby face and my character is a heel?
Yeah, that's just the way it was in Power Move Pro Wrestling. The fans were very sympathetic, and if a guy was getting beat up, they would get behind him and start cheering for him, which kind of gave him a sort of an advantage. He even started putting out more even special moves. I remember Elton Bloor could go up to the top rope and do a moonsault, and for that time to see that at a 3D angle on the game up to that point, it hadn't been seen before. So that's one thing that kind of made Power Move Pro Wrestling its own unique thing.
It was unique. It was special for what it was. I was so devastated on the very first day we got Power Move Pro Wrestling, and we played it one good time, and we heard the famous voice of Gorgon, who was so charismatic, and being able to see the whole the announcing and everything. I mean, you got to understand that we come from Royal Rumble and the Raw game, so we hadn't seen like entrances or nothing like that. Power Move ain't have entrances, but the fact that they actually had the announcer announcing the upcoming match and announcing the wrestlers in their respective corners was crazy. And he had an introduction for everybody, so that was just real fascinating at the time.
Sure it was, and that's what we were very proud to bring, a different type of a presentation to sort of merge with SIDE, and at first it sort of worked out because SIDE appreciated what was different about us, and they tried to adapt to our style. We tried to sort of adapt to their style and meet common ground, but things got a little bit sticky later on.
Yeah, they did get sticky indeed. Talk a little bit about Gorgon, and just your thoughts about him.
Well, Gorgon is also, as you know, a very skilled competitor in the ring. He was also a guy, who lost to that same stipulation. They would just job guys out, who were really great talent just because they were smaller. And he's also, a little bit taller than me, but he's a hell of an athlete. And I guess that sort of gave him a opportunity to sort of get his chops on the microphone, which actually ultimately got him spotted by SIDE, and he even did stuff later in XTV. So that really says a whole lot.
Gorgon is just a crazy motherfucker, and I remember his feud with Big Chunks D-Matic. Did you catch that?
Oh yeah, classic stuff. The matchup with him and Big Chunks at Vengeance. Classic stuff.
I think Gorgon came out on top in that match, surprisingly.
Well, he's a great worker, He's very well spoken. He knows his stuff in the ring. He knows holds, and he's just an outstanding performer. So, that doesn't really come as a surprise. Not to take away from Big Chunks D-Matic, who was in the prime of his career at that time, going at it with Gorgon, and I always appreciated that matchup because, it's just, good classic, George versus George wrestling, which you don't see that much in XTV. No homo.
Yeah.
One thing, I wonder, sometimes, there was a wrestler on Power Move Pro named Agent Orange, and there was a time when SIDE just said no to to the Power Move Pro Wrestling style because it just wasn't working for them. So they just took a whole bunch of their guys, and they moved on. But one guy I wonder why they didn't bring him along is Agent Orange. I mean, because out of all the 12 playable guys, Orange was probably the easiest to maneuver, the easiest to work with. Most guys work really stiff, with maybe one or two exceptions. I remember Lance being, one of the smoother guys. He had a real great style. Body slam, technical wrestler. Everybody had like their own different style, but many people were pretty stiff in the ring to work with. King Og, oh Jesus Christ, taking a bump from this guy is just like, you might as well just let the damn Twin Towers fall on top of you, and then there's a guy named the Judge. Every last one of his punches hurt like hell, but so yeah, Gorgon's one of the guys, he takes pretty good care of you in the ring. There was a guy named the Commandant, and I remember they tried to use him as Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, because he had black drawers on. And because he had black drawers on, they used him as Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and he comes out and he's doing moonsaults off the top rope, completely uncharacteristic of Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And he's saying, he's putting on a classic matchup though, with the Commandant style. And you guys didn't know what to do. I remember that. I remember you guys were sitting there at the announce table, getting lost in the matchup, and I think at one point AVW wanted to make the switch from DiBiase to the Commandant.
Why you keep on saying it like that, Sallie?
What do you mean, the Commandant?
Yeah, man. The Commandant. Oh, that is his name.
Yeah, the Commandant.
You just sound funny saying it. Oh, man. Don't mind me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just having a good time on the telephone with Rathburn Sallie, the referee from Power Move Pro Wrestling. We're going to talk about a whole lot more, ladies and gentlemen. How he actually did get picked, to come on to the other side. And we're going to talk about what caused SIDE and Power Move Pro Wrestling to sort of part ways in regards to SIDE programming. That and a whole lot more. But first, another word from our sponsors. It's hotter than ever. It's going to get hotter and hotter. It's not even summer. And not only is it hot, but that sun is unforgiving in how bright it is. That's why I keep me a pair of pugs. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that pugs may be a little bit more expensive for your pocket, but I'll tell you one thing. You purchase some of these and you won't have to purchase no glasses for a long, long time afterwards because they are very durable. I mean, I even had a situation the other day where my son Justin Jr. had sat on a pair and they was on like a hard bench. I heard a crack, but guess what? When he got up off the pugs, they was just fine and intact. And they are very durable and they help block up against the sun. They are UV protected, which keeps away all those rays and stuff like that. And they even got, thick sides to block the peripherals so that you ain't got no light coming in, from the back door on you. So, this summer it's going to get hotter and it's going to get brighter out there. It's 101 degrees outside. I suggest to you, go buy some pugs.
I'm Stanley 306, and this week's Talk of the Town is a hoop. This week's special guest is none other than Baba Jenkins. We talked to Baba about his life as a preacher.
Yeah, man, I was a preacher a whole bunch of times, man.
Well, what were you talking about as a preacher?
I was talking about the days I was a whoremonger. I told him don't be fucking with them whores.
Baba's got his new book, I swear to God I'm not lying out, and he's got many more to talk about with us on Talk of the Town this week. Tune in.
Now, Rathburn, it was 12 playable characters on Power Move Pro Wrestling as we established, but there was actually 3 hidden characters, and that pretty much, kind of saved Power Move Pro Wrestling for a little while.
Yeah, I did say Power Move Pro Wrestling because, they were going to kind of just get rid of it, I guess. Or, they were kind of, not get rid of it, but they were just kind of tired of, the way things were going with Power Move Pro Wrestling. One of the cons of Power Move Pro was that, you couldn't have tag team matches on there. And the tag team division was a big staple in SIDE previously. So to not be able to have that and just only have singles matches, it was hard to get a whole lot of great talent over. And, certain people, like the Young Age Outlaws, I don't even remember how they were able to.
Sorry about that, Rathburn. I got a phone call.
No, it's all right. I was just saying, I don't know how the Young Age Outlaws were able to, survive in a world where, the tag team division was non-existent. I remember Johnny Polo just having singles matches and Baby having singles matches. And it's just like, they were still the Outlaws, but what's the point of being the Outlaws?
Well, I think that it was a idea down the line that Monday Nitro was coming, or I should say Nitro was coming, because we didn't do Monday Nitro. It was called Nitro, and I think that SID had an idea of where it wanted to go. It was a fuller roster. It was more options. It was a completely different look, and it had a completely different feel, and it was still to come.
During that time, though, back to what you were saying, SIDE, was just kind of getting tired of the same old, King, and then certain guys just, I say King Og, not to, bury him or throw him under the bus or anything, but I saw him do a shoot once. He was saying something about, like, how he got fired, kind of for no reason, but, the guy was just kind of taking up space. He wasn't talented, he was a big mess, he was a hassle to deal with, and, that's why a whole lot of those guys didn't work, with the exception of Orange, like I said, but, make a long story short, things got better, but when they added myself and Gorgon and Sparrow, Sparrow was the big deal. They knew that he could spit mist, which was a big deal. It was like, whoa, we haven't seen anything like this. And I think he had a couple of, enhancement matches to start things out. And they put him in a program up against Elton Bloor. I don't know if, this story's been told before, but they started him out with Elton Bloor because, Tim Bloor was, super over, because during that time, the whole cruiserweight thing was, a real big deal. And he fit right into that category, as a small guy, from Mexico, young man. And, like I said, he's able to do moonsaults off the top rope. Even though the Commandant could,
Stop saying it like that.
The Commandant. So, anyways, they put him in a program with Elton Bloor, and I believe, I don't know. I think no, it was a draw. Nobody went over. That's what happened. It was a draw. But that's because, the time limit clocks, they sucked ass. They used to move so fast. If you picked, 30 minutes for a matchup, you might as well call it a 10-minute matchup. And if you want to have any length to your match, you might as well just pick unlimited, because even if you pick 60 minutes, it's like 20 minutes. So, it was a real clusterfuck as far as the time was concerned. And so that's why those matches went into draws. And then, but they were great. They was extraordinary matches, really extraordinary. These guys pulling off high-flying moves, and, Sparrow just pulling off things that we've never seen before, and it's just like, wow, this is amazing. And those amazing, camera angles and those different shots, those never-before-seen shots. So, this was really cool. We're finally having a matchup between two guys that are really fit for each other, and it's just like, wow, this is crazy. So that's the first time seeing a great big matchup, but we knew that those guys were only mid-carders, So it's only so far these cruiserweights can take you necessarily. And even though Sparrow was a little bit heavier than they wanted him to be, he was like 202 pounds or something, which is still pretty light, but he was kind of tall as well, but they were nitpicky like that. So they booked him at the first ever SIDE pay-per-view, which was Beach Blast.
Yeah.
And so they were like kind of supposed to be like the mid card, climax, and they did well. They did exceptionally well. It was a great matchup, but I believe it was another time limit draw, and they weren't happy with that, and I wasn't happy with that, and I was ready to call it. I was ready to say, if you want to go ahead and make this a classic, put them out there again with no time limit. It was real stupid. First they were like,
I thought they had went like, first it was like 2 30-minute matches, and then it was supposed to be a no time limit match.
That's not how I remember it happening, Justin. Who's telling the story here? Huh?
My bad.
So it was another draw, but those guys went back and forth all the time. I believe they would go, one guy would go over, the other guy would go over, so it was just a back and forth feud. And then Sparrow, he picked up a couple managers. I think he got managed by Yamaguchi's son or something like that. So, it was really great stuff. But that night at the Beach Blast pay-per-view, the headline main event was Bret the Hitman Hart versus A-Man, who were, big guys at the time. They had a feud going on that was really important. It was really building up, and even though I think that A-Man might have been doing the whole Shawn Michaels thing, I'm not sure, but I just remember that was the main event. That was the headline, and what happened was it was a real pretty day. It was the outside arena. They were really excited about doing that, but the pay-per-view as a whole, I think, was a little lackluster. The main event, I guess, was all right, for what it was, because at that pay-per-view, once we got into like the first few matches, once we got through it, it was like, this is not feeling very pay-per-view-ish. This is feeling very Power Move Pro Wrestling-ish, and it just didn't have that zest that they were used to. Prior to us, SIDE programming would do it up on pay-per-views.
Oh yeah, they did. I'll never forget. Hell in Vegas, Big Daddy Cool threw a man, or no, I think that was Bret Hart. It was somebody. It was one of them. Threw him all the way up in the air. We had never seen nothing like that. Like, he launched him into the air and just, and I guess that's another one of them things that's just like, that's regular for nowadays. That ain't nothing really. But back then, though, man, whew, we hadn't seen it. Everything was just pretty ABC, punches, kicks, body slam, drop kick. Wow, no big deal. Elbow drop off the top rope. So what? Everybody do that, but. Man, they was pulling out some moves, and when it counted, at the pay-per-views, except for the No Way Out pay-per-view, but I ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah, so they kind of used us to spread the card out a little bit. I ran programs with El Temblor, which our matches weren't really all that, but they were pretty cool, and so It was what it was while it lasted, but yeah, like you said, eventually they would move on to Monday Nitro.
Move on to Monday Nitro, they did indeed, and which was a whole nother can of worms, Rathburn, because it was a whole nother process of getting used to it, and it had the realistic, look, it had that. It had that rowdy crowd. They was passionate, but it just didn't work at first.
It didn't work at first, and they didn't have me vocally. They brought me over. I was the referee, but I was muted. So I didn't really see the point in me really sticking around there too much. But, you know, it was a paycheck. You know, I got paid. But I just felt like I was underutilized. And then they tried to use me. But, you know, it's like what you were saying to your point. The style of, you know, Nitro was just completely different. And it made you want to kind of go back to Power Move Pro. But Power Move Pro didn't have the options, you know, that Nitro did, and it didn't have the look, you know, and it's just like, man, if everybody had their own each individual moves the way they did in Power Move, you know, we might be onto something. But instead, everybody was really stiff, you know, everything was really slow, same moves, and it was very hard to have a good match. I remember you couldn't even bounce off the ropes.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It sucked. Like, you know, you can't even just run up against the ropes. I mean, every wrestling fan, if you love wrestling, you know, at least you want to bounce off the ropes.
Yeah. you want to hit them ropes. You know, you want to go back and forth. And, you know, it took some getting used to, man. I mean, having a power meter and things like that. You know, it was what it was. We worked with it. And just looking back on it, it's just like, damn, how in the hell did we get through and make it in those times and have fun?
Especially, you know, during that time period, it's a growing up process, and, you know, your attention span gets shorter and shorter. You're just like, this is stupid, you know, let's move on to the next thing. But that just shows the passion of AVW and, you know, how much he cared about the brand and how much he wanted it to continue, because, you know, he did have something special with these guys, you know, and he made it work.
Oh, yeah. The entire roster made it work over there in SIDE during those time periods. What do you think about you know, how XTV, how you know, the whole thing really became XTV, and, you know, you see the style of refereeing, and, you know, you was the senior official for a long time. You know, I think you made maybe a couple appearances in XTV.
Here and there, nothing really memorable. I never really liked the way XTV, the style of XTV. You know, I mean, I like XTV, but in regards to, you know, fair matches, you know, it just completely goes against my MO. It's like what I was saying at the beginning, you know, it's just like, you know, come on, leave the ref out of it. Have your match, you know. You know, I was watching a match on you guys' channel, and you know, Alec Troffer, he's in there, you know, just manhandling the referee just because he counted to 2. Well, damn it, it's a 2 count. What the hell you want the guy to do?
You know, Alec called that Troffer.
It's bullshit. I don't like when guys put their hands on the referee for no reason, and that's why I stay out of the way. You know, break it up. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. I'm letting go.
You know, people just need to let go of the hole. They need to let go of the good hole.
I'm Stanley 306, and this week's Talk of the Town is a hoop. This week's special guest is none other than Baba Jenkins. We talked to Baba about his life as a preacher.
Yeah, man, I was a preacher a whole bunch of times, man.
Well, what were you talking about as a preacher?
I was talking about the days I was a whoremonger. I told him to be fucking with the whores.
Baba's got his new book, I swear to God I'm not lying out. And he's got many more to talk about with us out on Talk of the Town this week. Tune in.
Yeah, that's just a problem that was, you know, pretty much prevalent in XTV. You know, it had been prevalent for a long time. Referees, not only, you know, maybe it might be a slow count here and there, but also referees getting in the way of matches, you know, and that caused a lot of animosity. I remember particularly we had, what was that referee's name? He used to referee for us starting out in 06. They had hired him. He was a WWE ref.
You're talking about referee Mike Chioda, and Chioda was a damn good ref. You know, he just was he was a little bit slower. You know, you know, I never adapted to the style of XTV. You know, I was used to the way it was, and I know how it is. But you know, it's just if I'm gonna be, you know, getting my hands put on, then damn it, you might as well make me a part of the roster. You know, put me on the roster so that I can get some, you know, some retribution for myself. You know, with these guys just getting involved.
Well, the referee would get involved. In fact, I remember on Day of Reckoning, the referee would actually fight back. He would fight you.
I mean, but that's what it came to. Push came to shove, and it's like, damn it, you know, we're not gonna have this anymore. You know, we're gonna be fighting back. And so, you know, it's much deserved. I really appreciated, you know, what you guys did when you put RJ as a referee. You know, I think that that gave him a little bit of, you know, shine. Although the referee is really not supposed to be a big part of the matchup, and you know, everybody's watching for the action. Nobody's really checking for the referee, but. You know, RJ had, you know, sort of got his name up. You know, he got some notoriety over the years. You know, he had his own TV show, and you know, he did certain things throughout the course of time, and you know, he earned his spot, a significant spot on the card as a referee and as an XTV official, and he even officiated most matches. You know, and I think that out of everybody, you know, who went the referee route, I think that his job was the best job. And even the West Coast said it at one point. They said, wow, you know, RJ is a good official. He's a good ref. He didn't get in the way. You know, he just stayed there and counted the match.
Well, that was the problem with Mike Chioda. That's why we ended up having people like RJ. And then it was once upon a time we used to only have females as officials in any matchup that we possibly could. You know, not every matchup allowed for a female to be the special guest referee or whatever, but that's what we would do. And we just figured, well, you know, since you know, we having these girls, and you know, I don't know why we stopped with the females, you know, but we would switch up the girl. You know, I remember Christy Hemme being a referee, and you know, a couple different other girls. I just remember looking up Christy Hemme dress. But anyways, I guess that, you know, we just figured, you know, we might as well just have a permanent XTV original guy as the referee. And, you know, who better at the time than RJ? Everybody else on the roster was, you know, pretty high up there. And if you was going to give RJ a spot and give him an opportunity, it would be as a small role where he could still be seen, you know, he could still be active. And, you know, you see what it's done for him today. What do you think about the landscape, Rathburn, of XTV nowadays, and, you know, how things are continuing to shape up?
I think that is great. You know, the way you guys are able to maintain your stability as a organization without, you know, having to... I'm sorry, that was my dogs. Without having to, you know, refer to, you know, the games or anything like that, I was very surprised, though, and I am surprised that, you know, there wasn't any kind of, you know, substitution. Like, you guys didn't go with, you know, go back to 06 or something like that, just for the meantime.
Yeah, well, you know, it was thought about, and you know, it might have gotten mentioned here and there. It didn't come into fruition, but you know, I just feel like I think that we at a time, you know, and I think it's agreed amongst everybody that it's just like it's time for something new, you know, something brand new, you know, it's gonna liven up XTV after that tragic loss to 13, you know, and that's when, you know, it was just no more XTV. You know, the last thing I remember about that was having the Schedule Dome, which was after. I think this is post XTV Mania.
Yeah, it's a shame what happened, and you know, but I definitely see things going, you know, back to how it was, and you guys functioning, you know, on all four cylinders, you know, how it used to be, and who knows, maybe I'll even be a part of it. You know, there's endless possibilities. You know, your wife Martha is doing an outstanding job at picking up the pieces and putting things back together. You know, there's actually, you know, a different type of communication going on now with the with the podcast world.
Yeah, and that's what I was, mentioning at the top of the show. How, the HTV West Coast have kind of been doing this thing, and I'm the one that's really late. I'm the one that's jumping on board, even though I had the first official show, podcast show. That really don't mean nothing.
You think that there's going to be any other guys, deciding to, be a East Coast podcast kind of personality?
Well, it's been talks about it, and I know that Millennium is getting his thing started on Vimeo. I wish him the best in his endeavors. Romy is supposed to be having something. This is just what I heard about. I hear Romy is going to be having not like a show like mine. Where we sit down for like an hour and kind of just shoot the breeze, go over some main points, but sort of more like a fun. Not saying that this show ain't fun, it's always a good time, but just him doing Romy, and it probably wouldn't be long. It'll probably be like 10-12 minutes, things like that. I think he's just trying to be like GGN, really, but it is what it is.
The guy is great. We went up against Romy, back in those times. It was SIDE. And we were just really, really, really hot before even Alec Crawford, became, a big deal. It was between SIDE and the Abu the Monkey show. And I remember one time, his show was on all day. It was like all the way up to the point of SIDE, and it kept on like it was going on so long, and it was so good that you guys wondered, well, is this going to go all the way up to SIDE? Is it going to go all the way up to 8 o'clock? And will this be so good that we just won't even do SIDE tonight? It was actually considered. And we were worried, we were like, damn, we're probably not going to get to go on tonight because it was really so intense, and, it was going and going and going and going. And when push came to shove, it came to it that night, and you guys had to make a decision at 8 o'clock, whether you guys are going to keep going with the show and keep on going overtime and overtime and overtime, or are you going to just, give the block over to us? And then, You did. You gave it to us, and we went on that night, and we killed it.
I remember that show, and I had to be a part of both of those shows. I had to go from Abu's show over to SIDE to do the announcing.
It was a frenzy that night. I don't know what was in the air. The sun and the moon and the stars were all aligned, Justin. But SIDE, the show that night was. It was spectacular, and then it was so good that, it got to the point where now we were wondering if we were going to go into overtime or if the Abu show, was just not going to even be as good, because it's like we peaked so high that it's like, wow, this is even better than what we were doing earlier. So it was like, how can you go back and, sort of regress?
Yeah, but we did it.
Oh yeah, you did do it, and it was just all night of fun.
Yes, it was a whole night of fun. I remember that day. That's a good memory. Just one of those days, man. That was just a Saturday in 1997, Rathburn. Anything could happen, and sometimes our show wouldn't come on. It just depend on what was hot. And then, it's kind of like, to your point, what you were saying, it was like, okay, we doing this over here with Romy and myself, and this is crazy. It's intense, and then you have, wrestling, which kind of just throws off the whole vibe. So, that's just how it was sometimes. And then, so like, if the vibe wasn't, me and Romy, then it might be a Duke Nukem that come on or something like that, or Alec with Doom.
Yeah, that's right. That's when Alec had the Doom show before Duke Nukem, which is, a pretty good show. Alec was he was on fire back then. he really could take any kind of thing that you gave him and, turn it into something. I mean, his very first show, he made fucking chicken salad out of chicken shit with that X-Men piece of crap, the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I have yet to get Alec on this show, but we've been talking about it, and he is coming. And you're right, that's a good point about that. Able to just take a game that's it don't fit in with what XTV is.
Exactly. It's nothing like the format, and you guys, Alec took it and he made something out of it. He gave everybody a role. Nightcrawler was there, he was a star. Beast was a star. Everybody that participated on there, with the exception of Magneto, who was the only original character. But at first he started off as a bad guy, and then Alec defeated him, and then he became a playable character. So it's like, okay, now it's all of us and Magneto. And it was really fun times.
Yes, it was. It was a real good time. Anything else you want to talk about, Rathburn, before we wrap things up here? You got anything else on your mind?
No, not really too much. I haven't really been thinking about too much. It's just going along with the motions, seeing where things go with SIDE. And, pretty much just working behind the scenes, and really just digging into the ins and outs of the business, how things are going, where things are going. And, that's what I said. I really appreciate your wife, Martha, for what she's done. A lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes because it's not talked about, unless you go out and spill the beans. But you've been doing pretty all right.
Oh, yeah. I done let out a couple things out of the bag. I probably wasn't supposed to talk about the Romy thing. I had said something a couple times about Reefer and Looker, too. I'm just a big mess.
But that's why everybody loves you, though, and you keep up the good work, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next go around.
All right, Rathburn. I appreciate you talking to me for this while, and I'll see you a little bit later on down the road.
See you, man.
Well, there y'all have it. My interview for this week. Referee Rathburn Sallie. A lot of insight, a lot of good memories that he just now brought to mind. I hope you guys enjoyed it, of course. Many, many more to come, ladies and gentlemen. So be on the lookout for that Chris Major interview. That's also on the horizon. I also interviewed J Baby, recently. I got a podcast on that one. Yeah, and I got this long ass rant that I went off. It's about 30 minutes of just me going the hell off. And just saying what's on my mind. There I am out there on the road. Yeah, I'm saying to you right now, pardon me if I don't really, if I'm not really making a lot of sense, but I'm just speaking from the heart. I'm not speaking from my mind. I'm speaking from how I really feel. So it is what it is. It's always a good time, and I always appreciate you guys taking the time out of your week to listen to some audio whoop ass. Until next time, I'm Ernest Justin Turkey Leg, and you are listening to A Good Time. Yeah, that's right. That's the new name of my podcast. I don't think that's the name of it, though. I think it's called It's a Good Time. Yeah, A Good Times podcast or some shit like that. Anyways, I'm signing off. Y'all have a good day.